and welcome back to another little realistic read with me vlog. I think this is my favourite sort of videos to watch, just people reading throughout the week. When do they read, how do they read, and yeah, what they're reading. I think that's my favourite videos to watch, so that's what these first couple of videos, at least from me, will be. So we're literally continuing on from the previous vlog. I have been at my nephew's birthday party all day. I've come back, it's 7 o'clock. I'm about to take my makeup off, go take a shower, jump into bed. I need to put fresh bed sheets on, which is a chore, and I wish I'd done it before we left, but I didn't have time, so you know, it is what it is. Our update and what we are reading. We are reading Cursebound. I'm 50 pages in, I have not read anything today. And then we are reading from Lukov with Love, and I have 30 minutes left of the audiobook, so my plan is have a shower, listen to this until I finish, and then read Cursebound for a bit, and then switch over to my Kindle. And on the Kindle I'm reading The Oath We Give, which I didn't read tropes before going into books. I like going into books very blindly, and so I didn't realise what the tropes were for this book, and I'm actually really excited now. I loved book 2, The Truths We Burn. I loved that book so much, and then 3 and 4 I just felt like didn't hit as much for me. So going into this one, obviously I'm a bit like, oh, what's it going to be? I don't know if it's going to be a hit or a miss, but I think I'm excited either way. It's the last in the series, so I'll have the series completed when I finish this, so I'm just very happy to get that over and done with. And obviously if I have a great time in the meantime, then incredible. And then I'll probably pick up an audiobook, like a new audiobook tomorrow. And I think I'm going to pick up Scythe and Sparrow, which came out last week, because that's on Spotify and I have some hours on there. So I might start that while I go to the gym in the morning, and then keep you updated tomorrow. That is the shortest update ever, but I just need to get this makeup off and get into bed. I am tired. Hello. It is now Monday lunchtime, so it's time for a little update. So I did end up finishing From Lukov with Love last night. I think my final rating for this is 3 stars. I think had it not been for the audiobook I would not have finished this. I think my main problems with this, it's so long. Like, it's so long and the chapters are so long, which if the story had me gripped and hooked, I think I can overlook the long chapters, but it didn't. And I think where it kept losing me is we would have like time jumps out of chapters, so then it'd be like, oh, you know, like the book spans over the space of 10 months I think, but you get such specific and long scenes that it doesn't feel like that. Like, you start the book and basically chapter 1 through basically the first 90 pages is like one day. Like, the first 4 chapters, the first 100 pages is one day. And it's like, you've already read like 20% of the book. We should be moving along. And then it'd like time jump out at chapters and then tell you like it's summer, like it's spring. And then you'd get like a really, really in detail scene. And then we'd like time skip again and then get like a really in-depth scene. And it's like, it doesn't end when the chapter ends. You start the next chapter and the scene continues. And you're like, okay. Like, I just think, yeah, the writing style, at least in this, was not for me. I think that's why it's a 3 star. I think there's elements of this I enjoyed. Like, I like that they're both like grumpy. They're not really grumpy, but I like the characters. I love that he calls a meatball. I think it's so funny, and it reminds me of Heart of Dixie. There's a guy in Heart of Dixie who goes by meatball to the whole town. Incredible. And so every time he called a meatball, it made me laugh. And the audiobook is actually good, and I think had it not been for the audiobook I wouldn't have read this. So I think 3 stars. I don't know if Mariana Zapata's for me. That's the truth. I think the style of this either works for you or it doesn't. And obviously this was my first Mariana Zapata book, so I don't think I'll be picking up more unless someone tells me that it's different in the other books. But looking at the length of the other books, like the other book I have on my Kindle is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and that's also really long, and I fear it's probably the same as this. So I just won't put myself through that and then rate it low, because what's the point? Like, I already know going into it I probably won't. It won't be my favourite. So that's the update on this. I read 2 more chapters of The Earth We Give, so I think I'm around 100 pages in. I'm excited. I do think Silas has always been like the quieter one, the one on the sidelines, so I'm excited to like learn more about him. And then I started Scythe and Sparrow this morning on my Spotify because I have some free hours left on there, so I thought let me give this a try because it came out I think 2 weeks ago now. So I'm listening to that. I think it's so fun. Scythe and Sparrow is the 3rd book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. Butcher and Blackbird is number 1 and Leather and Lock is number 2. I really enjoyed Butcher and Blackbird. I think it was so much fun. I think it was something so different. It's like a dark comedy in the way that it's written. And then I went into Leather and Lock and I really didn't like it. I really didn't. And so, you know, again, so going into the 3rd is like the break the series really as a whole. But I am enjoying it so far. He's a doctor. He's the 3rd brother that we've seen in the other books, and he's not really involved in like the world of serial killers. And she works in a circus, and she just happens to be in the same town as him, and she's a serial killer, so she just decides to take it on herself to try and go and kill this guy who's like abusing his wife and kids probably. And it doesn't go well because she's never done it before. She don't really know what she's doing. It was just very impulsive. And so she gets injured. She crawls to his clinic and he sees it on his camera. Obviously goes to her, calls her an ambulance, gets her into the hospital, and that's where she's like, please save me. And then that's when he's like instantly in love with her, and he's like, I've never had anyone plead for me like this. Okay, babe. But it is funny in the way like she talks to him, and like there's going to be more to the story. And obviously his brothers are both into like this serial killer thing, and he's always sort of stayed clear of that, but now he's like so fascinated and so intrigued by Rose, and so he's like, come stay at my house instead to recover because the circus moves on without her. And so he's like, come stay at my house. Weird, but okay. Yeah, so that's what she does, and then that's kind of where the story takes us. It's not a very long book, so I think I'll get through it quite quickly. But I'm enjoying it. It's just fun. I think it's a good time. I think if you like vibes in books rather than the like plot or seriousness or depth, and you just want something really fun, I think this might be it. Unless it goes really down. He's also in a crochet club. Like, I think that's so funny. It's just him and a bunch of old ladies and they crochet. It's incredible. And she's just come and said she's making a sex swing. It's just silly. And also the trigger warnings. Again, like the 1st book obviously got famous for the trigger warning of like accidental cannibalism and then not so accidental cannibalism. The list of trigger warnings in this book made me laugh again because I'm legit like, you just never know what to expect when those trigger warnings are coming up. If you like dark humour, dark vibes, it is literally just about vibes for this book. And then I think I literally read like 1 chapter of Cursebound, so I'm like 60 pages in, and that is it. That's my update, but hopefully I'll get to read loads tonight, so I shall see you later. Hello, we have some updating to do. I have been reading a little bit more. I ended up actually reading quite a chunk yesterday. So let's start with Cursebound. I have under 100 pages left. So we are currently on chapter 25, page 235. I ended up reading a chunk last night. I think that got me to like 200 pages, and then I read a lot more this morning while I was on my walking pad, although I did listen this morning because I hate hardbacks. I hate hardbacks with a passion. So I did listen while I walked on my walking pad, and then tonight, because it's on BookBeat, I might immersive read, listen while I read to finish this off. I think it's about an hour and a half, hour 45 maybe, to finish this book, which I'm hoping I can get done tonight, but no promises. My thoughts. I hate when people don't communicate like adults. Like, you are the queen of this land and you can't communicate. You are a commander, like you were a commander of the army, and you can't communicate. It just feels very frustrating, I think on both fronts. there's just a lack of communication across the board, and I think that's going to cause a lot of conflict towards the end of this book. And like, for what? For something that we could have spoke about and resolved. I don't love that part. I think sometimes your expectations of a book can alter your experience, and because Faybound was a 5-star read for me, going into this I had incredibly high expectations, and actually reading the final Strife, I did really like all 3 books. I didn't feel like book 2 dropped for me. I think if anything, final Strife was a 4 and then Battledrum was 5. It's just me, and like, I'm not necessarily in the mood to pick this up, and I've just picked it up for release date, but I don't love this completely with my whole heart the way I did Faybound. However, with all of that in mind, I am still enjoying this. The world is still incredible. The elves, the fae, that sort of world, like the underground place, Mossimo, and where they live, and you know, all of that sounds beautiful, and so I'm enjoying being in this world. And I do like our characters, but I think they're just being a bit silly. This is not a powerless situation where I really didn't like Reckless and felt like there was no point to Reckless. There is a point to this. There is things happening. It's not like we're following the characters not doing anything. Like, there is things happening, and there's a lot that's happened over the span of these like 220 pages. I have seen some reviews of this saying the ending was crazy and people didn't predict it, so I'm intrigued to see where the plot twist sits and sort of where that goes. I don't want to say too much. We've had one reveal which I don't think was like really surprising, so I think all in all this probably sits at like a 4-star for me still, and I don't know whether that's just the sentiment of like this world, these characters, which I loved in Faybound, like being with them again. So I'm intrigued to read the last 400 pages and see where that takes us. So that's it. We have Scythe and Sparrow. I am 51% into this book, and it is so much fun. Like, I am loving these characters. I think the dynamic between them is incredible. So I think I mentioned in the previous one, he's a doctor and she climbs into his like private surgery to get help, and then he calls her an ambulance. So she's like, are you a doctor? Are you a real doctor? Like, I'm going to need to see some credentials. And so she always calls him Doc or McSpicy. It's funny. I love that. I think they have good banter going. The audiobook is incredible. He's got an Irish accent, which incredible. 10 out of 10. Immaculate vibes. So I have 5 hours and 41 minutes left of that, which yeah, I'll probably finish before the end of the week. So we will see what the final rating is. And on my Kindle, I'm reading The Oath We Give, and I'm on page 133, which is 34% in. This is going to be a marriage of convenience, which I'm excited to see how we get to the marriage of convenience, because so far, like, there's chemistry between them. They've obviously got some sort of history, which we see, but like, how do we get there is what I want to know, which I like that we're 30% in and that's not yet happened, because yeah, I'm excited for that, the build up of the actual relationship and how we get to where we're going. That's it. That's all I have to update you guys on. I'm going out for food tonight, so I probably won't get to read as much as I would like to, but I can hopefully get through a chunk of Cursebound tonight and then finish it tomorrow evening. Hello, welcome back. So we should probably talk because I finished Cursebound last night. I think my final rating is 4 stars. I don't think this was a bad book. I just don't think this was what I was in the mood for. I think upon reread maybe I'll feel slightly different. Like, if I reread this before the 3rd one comes out at some point next year probably, I might feel different. But I just felt like the characters were a little bit immature. I don't like when there's miscommunication that's really obvious. Like, from very early. The words are not working with me today. I don't like it in real life. I think it's dumb. Just talk to each other. That's all I have to say. Just talk to each other like humans, okay? Thank you. They're elves and fae, but you know what I mean. I think the span of this book only took about a week or 2, at push 2 weeks. So yeah, I think there's a lot that happens and there's constantly something happening. Like, you were moving, the plot is going, but it just wasn't There wasn't anything about this that made me feel the way Faybound did. I know this one's obviously literally only just come out, but I will be looking forward to the third one when that comes out, because I know Sarah is amazing at the finale. Like, the ending fire was incredible. I think book 2 is hard to write. I don't by any means think this was a bad book. I still really enjoyed this book, but not a 5 stars. I think 4 is the general rating I will be going with for this. I have 3 hours and 2 minutes left of Scythe and Sparrow. I think this might be my favourite book out of all. Number 1, I think I'm enjoying it maybe probably too much because the narrator's Irish. And anything about me, I love an Irish accent. Like, talk Irish to me. I just love it so much. I work with some Irish people, and every time I talk to them, I'm like, say more, give me more. And that is a huge bonus to any book. But I didn't love like Leather and Lark, and I think I ended up listening to that because I couldn't get into the physical book. I'm really enjoying their dynamic. It is like a friends with benefits situation, and through that they kind of develop more feelings, which isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I feel like if you're reading this, you obviously like dark romance. Like, a friends with benefits situation isn't really going to bother you. But I'm really enjoying this. I think they're both so fun. I love the banter. I love Rose as an FMC, and Fionn can get it. He's so hot. I love him. I love him so much. So I think this may be my favourite out of all of the 3 books so far. So I'll probably be able to finish that tomorrow and give you an update on how I feel about that. And then on the Kindle, we are still reading The Oath We Give. I think I only ended up reading like a chapter. Haven't finished Cursebound when I got in. I'd literally just read 1 chapter and then went to sleep. So we are on page 150, 38% through The Oath We Give. Again, not much has happened. I feel like that's not really an update. I'm still enjoying it. That's it. That's the update. And then for my physical book, I am determined to finish this. This is my January non-fiction book. We are now towards the end of Feb. I need to get a grip and just get this book over and done with. Some of this I really like. Some of this, not so much. Like, some of it I think is obvious, but obviously maybe not for other people. And some of it isn't. But the font is literally huge. Like, it's so easy reading, so quick. So I'll finish this when I'm having my food tonight, and then hopefully I can start a new book. So my plan is I'm going to start From the Embers by Ali Martinez. It's supposed to be a sad book. It's not a very long book. It is 270 pages. So I thought this will be a perfect little short read that I can start tonight, read a bit of tomorrow, and then I am off on Friday, but I can finish that Friday hopefully. I just thought this is a short read. I have had this on my TBR forever, and yeah, I think this is a sad one. I'll try not to film myself crying because you do not want to see that. I'm an ugly crier. Such an ugly crier. So yeah, but I've literally no idea what this is about. I've read like the first sentence of the back and thought, I don't want to know more. I don't need to know more. Like, I'm just going to go into this blindly. And then hopefully when I finish Scythe and Sparrow tomorrow, we can then have a think about what audiobook I'm going to be starting. So that is my only updates. I will maybe see you tonight when I'm reading. Hopefully I'm not crying because you won't see me then. I'll have to just blur, in like serial killer documentaries when they've got like the witness and their face is like blurred and blacked out. That's what I'm gonna have to do. You know what time it is because I didn't film anything last night. Sorry about that. But I did actually read, so I finished The Overthinking Cure. I don't know what to rate this. I don't read non-fiction, so I don't have like a rating system for it. I think it was okay. I think there was some things in there that were actually quite useful into like language that you use, or like how to talk in your head. Like if you get stuck in a rut, how to like bring yourself back in this head. So that's it, a very short read, and it's took me an embarrassing amount to finish. So I'm just very glad to have finished this, to be honest. Then we have From the Embers by Ali Martinez. I think you saw me say that I didn't actually know what this book was about. Yeah, I think it's going to be very sad, and I thought it would start like post-tragedy, but we're actually seeing them before the tragedy. I think seeing them before, and then it being like her not liking him because she thinks he's like a deadbeat musician, and like she's just a bit snobby, like I don't like her as a character because she's acting like her best friend is so much better than this fella, and his wife, Easton's wife, wants to be like a stay-at-home mum and they're having financial trouble. and the friend's kind of like egging her on basically to like not leave him but to like be mean to him and stuff, and I just don't like that, because I think like money comes and goes. You can't always expect that your partner will like be making loads of money. Like she could also go and get a job, and like she grew up really poor and stuff, and she's like, I don't want my kids to be in the situation that I was. And it's like, well, do something about it then. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that at all. So I don't like Brie, basically the main character so far. But obviously the book can change, develop, and I think if we got to see her, well, if we get to see her like develop and through the tragedy work through some of her own prejudices and her issues, like I think this could be a good book if she gets the right character arc. Like the character development happens and you see her realise that she's actually a raging lunatic. Like she's mean unnecessarily, so we're still very, very early on. But hopefully I can read a bit of this tonight. And then I have finished Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver. I think this was so much fun. I think this is a 4-star read, and when I looked back I also rated Butcher and Blackbird 4 stars, and I'm like, yep, that tracks. That absolutely tracks. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic read, and the audiobook definitely adds to the appeal of the book. I think the narrators do a brilliant job selling you the story, and like the sass that Rose has in her voice when she's like mocking Fionn is just gorgeous. Like it is a masterpiece. I love it. I think it's so much fun. Yeah, I highly, highly recommend. And that's kind of all I have to say. That's another new release read. The only thing I have left now is the Rebel Witch, the Heartless Hunter sequel, which apparently in the UK doesn't come out until the 25th. So like, whatever. I have started The Half King by Melissa Landers. This is my Fairy Loot edition. I'm listening to this because it's on my library, so I can look at this. Isn't that absolutely stunning? More. Like, gorge. Yeah, and then the naked hardcover as well. Yeah, the audiobook's on my library app, so I've started that. This is the September Romanticiba from Fairy Loot. So yeah, I know nothing about this. Obviously comes in the Fairy Loot box. I like to go into books very blind, to be fair, as you can see from the Embers, where I just went in and was like, I don't want to know anything. Yeah, so I've literally just started this. I've listened to maybe like 5 minutes total. So that's going to be our next lower read. And then I have read a little bit of the Oath We Give. I think I'm 50% in now, 49% in, page 197 of almost 400. So we are now at the stage where we know why she's going to agree to the marriage of convenience, and the story's going to go from here. I love any like fake date and marriage of convenience trope, and they're like, we need rules. You can't fall in love with me. And I'm like, of course you can't, but you will. Watch what happens. So I'm actually very excited for the second half of this book. So I'm hoping, tonight is a Thursday, so I'm doing my food shop, so probably won't read a big amount of this, but I'm off work tomorrow, so I'm hoping I can read a chunk of this before, like in the morning, and then I'm going to meet my friend for lunch, and then when I come back I can maybe hopefully finish this, because I'm going to be home alone, it's going to be quiet, it's going to be peaceful, and then I can finish this, and then in the evening I'm going to watch my nephews. So that's my Friday night plans. That's me sorted. I'm hoping I can finish this tomorrow actually, and then I can start Ready or Not by Cara Baston. That's the plan, but we shall see. I'm going to go now, have my wrap, and then get back to work. That's all of my updates. Probably won't see me tonight. Maybe I'll film a little bit tomorrow actually with me being off. But that's it. That's all my updates. Happy Friday, you gorgeous humans. I have some updates. I am off work today, which is hard, eh? I've been to the gym this morning, come back, had some breakfast, and then I ended up walking while I listened to From the Embers, and I was like, I'll just walk for half an hour while I listen to this, and I'll play on my Switch. I fell into a trance and was walking for about an hour. So I have gotten through a chunk of this book. I now have, I think it's under 100 pages left. I don't think this is going to be a 5-star for sure. I don't think this will be a 4-star, but I think it's probably a little bit more than a 3-star. And I think this is where my rating system doesn't always work. So my rating system is like 1 star, I hated it. 2 stars, I disliked it. 3 stars, middle of the road. I'd liked some parts, disliked some parts. But ultimately, like, not really memorable. 4 is I liked it, and 5 is I loved it. I think this sits somewhere between a 3 and a 4 at the moment. Like, it's not high enough to be a 4, but maybe like a 3.5. Because I do think I'll remember this book. So it's like I can't give it a 3 because I feel like 3s are like, I will not remember anything that happens in this book, but I will remember this book. But I don't think it's like I like it enough to give it a 4. That's how I feel at the moment. So I mentioned this earlier. You see Ethan and Jessica at the start of this book. They're going through some marriage troubles. He's a musician, an aspiring musician. He's not making a lot of money, and she's a stay-at-home mum with their little daughter Luna, and she's kind of putting pressure on him to provide for the family. And so you kind of get thrown into that, and then the other side is Bree and Rob, who have 2 kids, and Rob and Ethan are best friends, and Bree and Jessica are best friends, and then they ended up getting married to each other, and now they're like best friends. But Bree doesn't really like Ethan, and so she kind of tries to poison Jessica in a little bit of a way, to be like, you need to do better, he needs to do better. Like, she's really not a big fan of his. And that's kind of how the story starts. They go to like a little games night that they plan together, the 4 of them, and then there's a gas leak in the basement and the house explodes. And that's kind of where we go. Not a spoiler because this is on the blurb. He carries out Bree thinking she's Jessica. He wanted to save his wife, but in the end ended up saving Bree and couldn't go back in to save Jessica or Rob. So Jessica and Rob end up tragically passing in the fire, and Ethan and Bree are left with the kids and the aftermath of such a tragedy. And obviously they're grieving for their partners, and then they kind of start to find a little friendship between themselves. And that's kind of where the rest of the story goes. I won't really say much because I don't want to spoil it. I think this will be a 3.5 as it is currently, depending on how the rest of the book goes, but I think I'll finish this easily tonight. And then I started The Half King by Melissa Landers. I think I showed this yesterday. I literally listened to like 2 minutes yesterday on my lunch, and then at the gym today I was like, I'll just restart it so I'm like fresh and I'm fully aware of everything that's happening. He's a shadow daddy, and I'm excited to see what this book will have in store. This is a romantasy, and yeah, I think you can tell from the start that there is obviously a fantasy plot, but the romance will be very prominent in this. So we have this world where basically a god was convinced to become human. She came down, made herself human, and then was slaughtered by the people who convinced us. So then all the humans were cursed. All of the like noble families, depending on your surname, have like generational curses. And we're following Cerise, who's not a firstborn, she's a secondborn, and she lives in the temple grounds, where your magic is supposed to come in before you are 20. She turns 20 very shortly, and her magic has not yet set in. And so she's feeling very frustrated. And then the matron of the temple, who's sort of been guiding her along the way, has a vision that she will play a part in breaking the curses. She has to go to the king and be his advisor because of this revelation. It wasn't a full revelation, so she doesn't really know the ins and outs of how that will happen. And the half king, who's the king of this, is the firstborn, and their generational curse is that when the sun sets, he turns into shadows, and when the sun rises, he appears wherever his soul pulls him. And that's where we go. They have had their first encounter. She meets him, and it's not very nice. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to read more of this. The premise and the setup of this so far has me excited. I'm like intrigued, interested, I'm invested. So I will keep you guys updated. So on Kindle, this is literally the tiniest little update because I don't think I read much. I'm on 213, so 53% through the If We Give. That's it. I'm reading such tiny percentages of it that like there's no point giving an update because I've read like 1 chapter. And then Ready or Not came yesterday also, and I'm very, very excited to read this. every single person I've seen talking about it has loved it, and so I'm very excited. Pregnancy trope isn't usually my favourite, but I hate it when it's used as like a conflict or like a third act breakup or that sort of thing. I don't think I hate it when it's from the get-go. I think it's the fact that you know early on that they're pregnant, and then the plot and their relationship starts to build from there, and not the other way around. And I think this is the same. It follows like her pregnancy journey. I'm very, very excited to pick this up once I finish from the Embers. That's all my little updates. I've made myself a little sneak cola one for today. I'm going to start raw editing this footage, and then I can hopefully sit down and read from the Embers and hopefully finish it. I'm gonna go and enjoy my little day off, and I shall hopefully speak to you soon when I finish from the Embers. Good morning. It is Saturday morning. It's just about to be 8 o'clock, but I have some updates and I've been terrible at vlogging, so I'm going to try and do better. I finished from the Embers this morning. I read a little bit of what she's seen in the clip, and then I went to look after my nephews, and then this morning I went on my walking pad and I was like, oh, I'll just listen for a bit, and then I just ended up walking until I finished the book. So we have finished this. 3 stars, I think. That's maybe a little bit generous. I think this didn't necessarily show the couple like emotionally develop a connection. I think they both just needed each other after the tragedy that had happened. They both had kids, they relied on each other, and the fact that they were there for each other I think was the foundation for them. But I just don't think I saw the right, I think it was like an instant switch in Brie that basically went, oh, he looks after my kids, oh, he's so good with the kids, and then they'd like sit and talk by the fire. But like, I just don't feel like we got to see enough of them like bonding for me to be like really invested in this relationship. So I just didn't care, ultimately. I'm gonna remember this book because I think the plot of this is wild, and then like the third act conflict that happens is absolutely insane. So yeah, 3 stars, middle of the road. I'd rate it lower, but I think the fact that it is memorable and like I will remember what happens in this book for a long time is giving it a higher rating than what it is, if that makes sense. So that is it. I am listening to The Half King and I don't really know what my plan is for today, so I shall see you and keep you updated. I'm trying to make these clips a lot shorter. Hello. It is now Sunday morning. It is grim outside, like it is so dark and miserable, and 0 out of 10 would recommend. But we're going to have a little Sunday reset. I've got my cup of tea, so let's talk about some book updates because I have things to update you on. So last we spoke, I hadn't listened to much of this. I ended up listening to this until I finished yesterday. So yesterday morning I filmed the clip saying like I finished from the Embers and then like I'll be listening to The Half King. And my brother came over with the boys, and then by the time they left I was like, I feel like I'm coming down with something. I just want to lay in bed. I just laid in, well, I actually laid outside because it was lovely. I sat in my egg chair and listened to this while I played on my Switch. I'm playing House Flipper still, I'm obsessed. And so I then just moved indoors and played House Flipper and listened to more of this. Then I did a couple of diamond paintings while I listened to more of this, and then moved back to the bed and listened to more of this while I played House Flipper. That's all I did. And then lo and behold, I was very surprised and shocked when I actually finished this. I finished this. 3 stars is the rating for me. I think it had potential it had some good elements. I think the fantasy plot and like the plot of breaking these generational curses that have been set on all these noble families is actually really, really fun. But I think for this to sit in the romantasy genre, I think the romance plot needed to be stronger. For me, this was quite weak. This was just two healthy humans. I guess you can call, are they humans? Two healthy people who get together. That's it. There's no third act conflict, they just get together. So I think the romance in this needed to be stronger for me to have enjoyed the book more. Yeah, that's all I have to say. It's a 3-star, middle of the road. I probably won't remember much. I don't think it was terrible. Like, the writing's not bad. And this is going to be a series which I will not be continuing. So that's my update on The Half King. I started Ready or Not, but I literally read like one chapter. Literally the first chapter. And that's as far as I got. So that's not really an update. And then I think I'm about 60% through The Oath We Give. I'm very excited. They're in the arranged marriage now. And yeah, I feel like it's going to get really good now. So it always takes me a while to get through my Kindle read because it is my like before bed read. And one thing about me is like once I'm horizontal, it really doesn't take me much to fall asleep. Like it's like 2 seconds and I'm out cold. So that's why it takes me a longer time to finish my Kindle books. Okay, so vlog recap. We finished From Lukov of Love on Sunday, 3 stars. We finished Cursebound on Tuesday, 4 stars. We finished The Overthinking Cure, which I did not rate. Then we finished Scythe and Sparrow, 4 stars. Then we finished From the Embers, 3 stars. And we have now finished The Half King, which is 3 stars. And currently I've only got a physical read and a Kindle read, so tonight when I restart the new vlog you'll get to see me pick what my next book will be, which is very exciting because I genuinely have no idea what that will be. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. If you have gotten to the end, you are an incredible human because I yap a lot. I'm trying to make the clip shorter, but once I start talking there's no stopping, unfortunately. So it is what it is. I'm going to go and finish this vlog, try and get a thumbnail done, and then hopefully get it out today. And then I'm going to do a little Sunday reset, clean my room, get fresh bed sheets on, have an everything shower, basically Sunday reset myself. And then you will see me this evening post all of that ready and fresh to get more reading done, which I hope. I tend to read a lot on that Sunday evening. So I'm hoping I can get into bed by like 6:30ish and just read Ready or Not until I switch to my Kindle, and it's going to be gorgeous and I'm very excited. So thank you very much. Oh, don't wave, that's embarrassing. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy. If you have any feedback, any comments, don't comment concerns. If you have any feedback, if you have read any of these books, tell me what you thought. And yeah, I shall see you again next week. Have a gorgeous, gorgeous Sunday or whatever day you are watching this. Sorry for party rocking. Nope, that's a spoiler, babe. I'm going to put 2 and 2 together. Quick maths. And that's on growth. My frontal lobe is fully developed now, so I think that's what's happening.